Kids, nowadays, they have so much digital entertainment to choose from. They have an infinite number of free games to play and endless brain-rot content to watch. There's just no reason for them to leave the house. So they don't. But I did. I was part of the last generation to actually take some joy from the outside world. Before everything turned digital. Sure, I was already addicted on watching Dragon Ball or playing Pokemon. The late 90s and early 2000s were packed with some incredible movies, animated series and video games. We got to experience the Cartoon Network powerhouse. And even the Disney Renaissance, arguably one of the best periods for animation ever. But we're not here to talk about that. The real magic lies in how, despite having all those amazing media, exploring the real world was still a big part of being a kid. I'm not trying to say that back in my day, things were better. Things weren't necessarily better, just different. Every generation has its own qualities that shape it and make it special. But this video is about the time when I was a kid, so we're sticking with my take on the perfect childhood. And how most of it, eventually, fell apart. Growing up in the late 90s and early 2000s was the perfect blend of old and new. As we opened the doors for the digital age with the future of entertainment, we also lived through an amazing era of tangible experiences. The industry was still focused on creating fun attractions and amazing toys, and all while still being surrounded by the relics from the 80s, like the animatronics from Chuck E. Cheese restaurants. I never saw one. I'm from Europe, so the closest thing I got to experience was a Furby, and it was already a nightmare. I know the animatronics are mostly a US thing, but I couldn't just ignore these weird Uncanny Valley monsters, and when they broke down, that's when it traumatized kids. Forever! Hey! Big guy! The show is over here! Malfunctioning robots sure are scary, but still, they're nothing compared to the old days. Just take a look at the original Chuck E. Cheese from the 70s, when he was a cigar-smoking rat hanging on a wall. Now that's messed up. Old characters are the perfect example of how the perspective on children's entertainment has changed over time. What was once engaging and fun now seems completely outdated and terrifying. The same goes for Ronald McDonald. Clowns are probably the worst idea ever cooked up for entertaining kids. But the first version of Ronald, it was unbelievably disturbing. By the 2010s, Ronald was simply retired. Poof, vanished, never to be seen again. For some reason, germs weren't seen as fun either, so the McDonald's play places were also poof, gone. I'm sorry, you can take the clown and the rest of the gang if you want, but the play places? Really? You can just take away the play places? There's nothing wrong with them.
Standard procedure is to clean them within 2 weeks of whenever there is a fatal accident.
Pretty sure they just let the gems die naturally while the lights
My
are
son
off.
went to play in the ball pit that I noticed when I
Some
retrieved him
fucking
that there
kid
was a
climbed
strong
all the way
smell
to
of
the top
steam.
spine until he's got his hands
Okay, I get it. There's a lot of wrong with them. I guess I was just a kid. I don't remember them being that dirty. I was too busy punching the top window, or going down the slide, or trying not to choke to death every time I cough. With health standards going up and kids breaking their knees, the play places became lawsuits waiting to happen. It just wasn't worth it anymore. Society too thought targeting kids was bad, especially at a time when obesity graphs are going in just one direction. So McDonald's changed focus to teenagers and young adults, and with that, no more fun-looking restaurants. But that's your fault, America, because at least where I'm from, going to the McDonald's in the 2000s was a novelty and unique experience. I wasn't getting fat from eating McDonald's, I was getting fat because you removed the slides and the ball pit in the first place. Just like you removed the fun from the Happy Meal with these new eco-friendly, crappy toys. What is this? Huh? Are we forgetting that we had Hot Wheels and Barbies and Bionicles and Sonic games? Honestly, is it even worth saving the planet if what you're going to give our kids is this uninspiring and reasonable cardboard nonsense? Yeah, maybe Yeah, maybe it is worth saving the planet, but are we going to ignore the fact that methane is 99.999% of the problem? What about that, Mr. Ronald? But who am I trying to fool? Today's kids have a whole different world of fun. They've got iPads and smartphones that can do anything with just a tap. Ah! My yellow Power Ranger couldn't even lift its arm sideways. But I don't need it to lift its arm sideways. I can just imagine that it does. Isn't that part of being a kid? Imagine stuff that isn't actually happening? Can you do this in a video game? Can you? I can say without a doubt that I wouldn't have traded my childhood experiences for today's entertainment on demand. I am more than sure that stepping into a Toys R Us during Christmas time, feeling like I was entering Santa's workshop and carefully choosing the perfect toy, brought me far more joy than any kid today gets from downloading any app on the App Store. Which makes things even more sad when we get to see how the still operating Toys R Us are just pathetic shells of what they once were. No offense, Joffrey. Look what you kids did to him! You don't even know how incredible he used to be! He was the iconic giraffe from the world's largest toy store right in the heart of Times Square.
Are you ready, people? It's showtime.
The biggest toy store in the world is coming to Times Square November 17th.
It was incredible. I bet. I never went there, but if the local Toys R Us were great, I can't even imagine how amazing their flagship store must have been. But times change and economic depressions hit hard. Plus, there's no realistic way to compete with giants like Walmart and Amazon nowadays, is there, Joffrey? Toys R Us eventually filed for bankruptcy and closed all its stores by 2018. Some locations have since reopened, but they are just meh. No offense, Joffrey. And sure, we still have toys and playgrounds along with some other stuff from back then, like entertainment zones with arcades and bowling alleys with those iconic carpets we used to also have in the movie theaters. They were the best, but they've become completely irrelevant. They're no longer the focus of the kids industry, and haven't been for a while. And let's be real, who actually cares? Maybe you and I do, but kids, the target audience that really matters, they couldn't care less. They won't miss something that they never lived. They're creating their own memories. Just as we wouldn't have traded our Beyblades for the old spinning tops, they won't give up playing Five Nights at Freddy's to watch the real deal at a Chuck E. Cheese dinner party. So the perfect childhood. You could argue that it's whenever you grew up. My mom's always going on about how she could bike around all day without anyone freaking out about kidnapping. Even with all its ups and downs, we all have our reasons for thinking our childhood was the best era to be a kid. After all, that's how nostalgia works. If you grew up in a different era, or just have some childhood memories you'd like to share, feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, guys. Now get ready for a cheesy montage!